Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. I am Mr. Katim Khan and I am a lecturer in the Institute of Computing, KUST University of Science and Technology. Today we will take lecture number 30 of the subject of visual programming, in which we are going to discuss the SQL Server database programming in Visual C#.NET. Dear students, SQL Server database programming in Visual C#.NET is used to connect the visual application with the database systems. In this lectures, we will consider the SQL Server database of Visual Studio.NET, and then we will create a sample database in SQL Server, and then we will design the GUI for connectivity with the GUI and SQL Server with each other, and at the end we will demonstrate the practical examples in the Visual C#.NET. So that's very important topics, and that topic is very much useful because in working in the software houses, you must have to be asked to connect the database with the C#.NET or any .NET languages. So this topic is extremely important for your career purpose as well. This is the discussion agenda. It contains the topics of SQL Server data tools for Visual Studio. Then what is the sample database? Here we will discuss the example of the database. What is the table in the database? Here we will discuss a structured tables, that is the relational table in the database. Then designing the database. First we will design the database, but that designing will be performed in SQL servers in Visual Studio 2019, and then entering records in the tables means that we will provide some information storage in the tables. So means that we will store some data inside the table, and then designing the graphical user interface in the Visual C# that GUI will be in fact used for interaction purpose, and that GUI will be connected with the SQL servers. And at the end we will demonstrate writing program for different queries for SQL servers connectivity in the Visual C#.NET, and the different queries will be, for example, select queries, insert queries, delete queries, update queries, etc. So that's are very much important topics. So you must have to learn these lectures, and also you need to perform the practice on this SQL Server database for the Visual Studio.NET. Now, what is SQL Server data tools for Visual Studio.NET? Basically, in the latest version of the Visual Studio, which is 2019, we have multiple data servers. For example, SQL Server is one of them. Azure SQL database is another another servers for database, and similarly Azure SQL data as well. That is the warehouse for the database systems. Here we will consider SQL Server because mostly SQL Server is a Microsoft product, and mostly it is used for the connectivity with the graphical user interface. So here we will consider SQL servers here. You can use any sort of SQL servers, but if you are using the professional editions or this edition which we have provided you in the classrooms, so you do not need to install the SQL server because already SQL server will be as a part of the Visual Studio 2019. But if your computer has no SQL servers, so you need to install the Express editions. So you can download the SQL server from this links. If you click on this links, you can download the SQL servers as well. And you must have the Microsoft account for this purpose. And also SQL Server Compact Edition will work as well. But if you have full installation of your Visual Studio, already SQL Server will be there. So you need to access the SQL Server Management Similar Studio, SQL Server Management Studio Express are similar tools. That is the strongly recommended for this topic. Now, what is a database? Basically, database means that particular systems which implements the relational database systems for storage of information. So all the information in the relational database systems will be stored in the form of the table, and the table has multiple rows and columns. So Microsoft SQL servers is a certain database management systems which processes the databases. So the database is in fact collection of one or more than one tables, and each and every tables contains different record sets. So in case of SQL Server, the databases that are created, the relational databases for the product is often also known as the Relational Database Management System or RDBMS. Now, the main entity in any relational database is called the table. As here you can see the example of the student table. It contains three different columns and four different rows. And this each and every row is called records here. So for example, this is first record, second record, third record, and fourth record. And each and every record contains one or more than one columns. For example, these are the student ID columns and name columns and address columns. And these columns are also called attributes as well. So in each column and rows, there may be a particular cell. For example, this one is a cell and it stores the name of an Ahmad. Similarly, Karachi is another cell and it stores the address of the Ahmad, and the Ahmad ID is 1002. So you can see this is the example of the table, and we will use a certain example in the SQL Server. Now for the database connectivity with SQL Server Express Editions, we need to follow all these four steps. First, we need to design the database. The design of database will be performed in SQL Server of the Visual Studio. Next, we need to enter records in the table. The record can be inserted into the table using the insert command of SQL Server. Then you need to design the GUI, and the GUI, that is the graphical user interface designing, should be according to the database that we have designed and the table that we have designs inside the database. Then we will write the programming for different queries. Here we mean that we will write different programming steps for different queries. And the queries will be the SQL queries, for example, select starix from the table 1 where roll number is equal to 20. Similarly, we can write the queries of insert queries, update queries, and delete queries as well. Now, to design the database inside of the SQL Server, first you need to click on the tool menu. The menu will be there on the top of the Visual Studio. Click on the tool menu, then click on the SQL Server, and then click on the new query menu, because we will create the database through the queries. But before uh, clicking on this new query menu, you must have to initiate the visual application of the Visual Studio. So first you need to take or start the visual project of the Visual Studio.NET. Then you will click on the tool, then click on the SQL Server, then click on the new query here. Then you will click on the new query. Then this sort of the system will appear here. And here you will be asked to connect with a particular SQL server. So here you will be provided with the name of the SQL server of your system, that is MS SQL local D8 or DB. That is the local database, MS SQL local database. So then select this one and click on the connect here. So when you will select this one, automatically this text box will be populated with the name of the SQL server that whom you are going to connect. Then click on the connect buttons. After clicking the connect button, then you need to type the command here. So here the SQL query will be created. This will be entered that time. First we need to create the database. So create database university, because we are going to create the university database. So write the statements of SQL Server to create the database. So create database are the keywords, and the keywords will be in the blue color while the university is our own word, and this will be in the black. And you also need to provide the semicolon here, and after typing the query you need to click on this green buttons, which means that it will execute the command here. So when you will click on this, then the command will be executed. So when this command will be executed, then if you drag drop that combo box, here you can see that there is the master and other databases, for example model, MSDBs. These are the sample databases and SQL Server. So when you will execute this query by clicking this button, then university database will also be created for this drag drop the combo box. So university database will be available here. And if there are any errors in this statement, the errors will be listed here. But there is no error in this statement. That's why command or commands completed successfully. After creating the database, then you need to write the use query here. Use university means that use this database to create table inside of the university database. So you need to write another SQL statement here. Create tables, students tables, then first attribute, second attribute, and third attribute with along with their data types, and each and every attribute will be separated with the comma here. So roll number int is the data type, so roll number is the name of the attributes, comma student name is another attributes, and n varchar, and the size of the student name will be 20 characters, and it will be n varchar sort of the attributes. This is the data types of the student name, means that it can take any characters or strings, including special characters as well as alphabetical characters and numerical characters, and it will be in n. If you want to write varchar only, it is also possible, but n means it will be the extra space will be not used here. For example, if student name is Ali, which has only 3 characters while its size is 20, so 17 characters will be useless in case of varchar only, but in case of n varchars, so only 3 characters will be assigned for this size. And then you also need to click this green button to execute the query. So then commands completed successfully, the message will be displayed here. After executing that queries, your database will be created. Now go to the SQL Server Explorers, and SQL Server Explorer will be there in the view menu. Just click on the view menu, then click on the SQL Server Explorer object, SQL Server Object Explorer. Then this will appear here, and then right click on the particular database, expand it, and then right click on the table that has been created. We will perform all these steps practically, and then right click and open the definitions of this table. When it will be opened, then right click on the particular attributes and click on set primary key. So when you will set a primary key, then the primary key will be created for the roll number. Now roll number is the primary key of this table. You can also set the primary key here. For example, if you write comma here at the end of the full query here, before this brackets, you write the comma, then primary key, then in the brackets likes, that is the braces brackets, type the roll number inside of that braces, then execute it automatically. Roll number will become the primary key here, but we will perform it practically as well. Now after setting the primary key, now you need to insert the values inside of the table. So for this purpose, um, type another query, use university, insert into student table that we have created due to the previous query. Values 1, which is the roll number, and Ali is and first strings separated with comma. Islamabad is the address student address. Similarly, Write another query, insert into student table values to Ahmad, Lahore is the address. Similarly, insert into student table values 3, Hassan, Karachi. And then we have displayed the output. So select static from student table, which will select all data from the student table. So means that here the three different records will be inserted inside the student tables of the university database. And you can see that first attribute is the numeric values, which is integer. Second attributes is in fact the string value, which, and in SQL server the strings is in fact provided with the second single comma here, not with the double comma, that is the quotation marks. So similarly, the address is student address, which is also the strings, that is nvarchar, and this one was also nvarchar. So that's why this table will be displayed due to the select statics from the student table. Means that all the data will be displayed from the student table. Next, you need to design the GUI. But before designing the GUI, you need to drag drop the data grid views on the form. So here you just drag drop this data grid views on the form here. So after dragging dropping the data grid views, again go to the SQL Server Object Explorers. This is SQL Server Object Explorer. How you will get it? Click on the view which is on the top of the Visual Studio. Then when you will click on the SQL Server Explorers, then you will see this GUI. Here expand the MS SQL DB, that is the servers. When you will expand here, all the databases that is in fact implemented in this SQL server will be displayed here. Click on your own databases. We have created the university database here, so expand it, and then also expand the tables folders. Then you will see the table that we have created. Then here you need to click on this table so that you will see this table in the design as well. But here right click on this SQL server and then click on the rename buttons. After renaming, then you copy this names from here, copy that name here, and then go to the GUI and click this small buttons here, that is the link here. And when you will click on this GUI will display. Click on the none. When you will click on the none here, then click on the add the here, that particular database will be displayed here. Now then you click on add project data source. When you click on this add project data source, then this interface will appear. Select database, click next. Again another interface will appear. Select data6, click next. When you will click next, then click on the new connection here, click next. When you click on new connection, then you need to paste the SQL server name there in the server name text box. When you will paste it, then go to the down of this visual this interface, then select the database names from here. The select name database name will be populated automatically here when you types or paste the server name here. Then select that database and click OK. Or you can also click on test connections, and automatically the message will be provided in which the test is successfully performed will be displayed. And click on OK. When you click on OK, then click on next. Automatically there you can will see that with the database SQL server names, um, the database name will be in fact combined here, and then click next. When you will click next, then this will be appears. Just select it, or if it is already selected, click next. When you will click next, then this tables or the set of tables will be populated here. Select the tables here that you want to connect with your GUI. So check all these options here are the check boxes. Click on finish. When you will click on finish, you will see that your data grid will be populated with the attributes of your tables here. So roll number, student name, and student address will appear here. And also university data sets, university student table binding source, and student table adapter will be displayed here. That means that this is the datasets class which contains the overall data. This is student table binding source, which means that it contains the source where the data will be fetched from the particular locations. And this is the student table adapter. This provides interface class for the connecting with that particular table, and which is the adapter table. Now, if you will run your Visual Studio, then you will see all the records here in this data grid. Now, then the third step is to design the GUI. Now we will implement show all query, that is select static from student tables, search by roll number, that is select from student tables where select static from student table where roll number is provided through this text box. And then insert records query will be in fact implemented. If you want to insert new records, then you have to write the data inside of these three text boxes. Then delete by roll number query will be executed if you provide the particular roll number and click on the delete by roll number, then that particular records will be deleted from this database. The final step is to write the programming for different queries. So here we will use the Visual C# .NET language for writing programming statements for different queries in SQL Server as well as in the Visual Studio. So for this purpose, go to the source code and using system.data.sql client package or the namespace or the libraries, you need to write this package there. This green text is a certain text that you need to write. So using system.data.sql client is a library which consists of all classes such as the binding source and SQL adapters, and similarly data grid view, that is the data source class. All these are implemented here in this library. Next one is the namespace database one, which represents different classes. All the classes will be in fact provided in that particular namespace. Then we have public partial class form1, which is inherited from the form class. And here you need to provide two different objects here. And you have to declare the private binding source one, new binding source. This object will bind the source of database to this GUI, and it contains the connection strings here. Next is SQL data adapters, new SQL data adapter. This object of SQL data adapter will contains the classes which will connect the tables to the GUI. So it will be used as a adapter for connecting or taking the data from the tables, and then the GUI will be populated. Then we have the buttons one. The first button will in fact used to display all the data inside of the data grids. So for this purpose, data grid one dot data source is equal to binding source one. Here it means that with the data grid, which is the first data grid with us, the data source is binding source one, and binding source one is provided here. So get select statics from table data. Get is a function, it is our own function, and here you can see the SQL query as executing. Select statics from table 1 means that retrieve all the records from the student table. Now get data functions is in fact a particular function that is our own user defined function, and it takes the SQL query as a command inside of its parameters. So string select command is the parameters here. Private void get data string select command. So this is the private functions. It means that it is only accessible inside of the class. Void means it is not returning anything. You cannot see any return statement here. Get data is a function, and string is the data types of the parameters that has been passed to this function. Now, try statements means that here we are using try catch statement for the exceptions handling. First, we need to define the connection strings. So for this purpose, string data type has been used for the connection string, and connection string contains information about the server name and also the information about the different the catalogs, which is the database here. So our catalog, our database, the university integrated security is true means that Windows authentication mode is here on. You can also on the SQL Server authentication mode as well. And pooling is equal to false means that there will be no pooling will be performed here. So by making pooling false means that there will no pooling will be performed. And pooling means that how many SQL queries can be executed here at one time. So if you make it true, then about 100 queries can be performed or executed at one time. So here we are using pooling is equal to false means that only one queries should be here executed. Next one is data adapters is equal to new SQL data adapters selects comma connection strings. Here we are using the SQL data adapter and select command which has been instantiated to the data sets when we have created. Second one is SQL builder command builder new SQL command builder data adapter. Here SQL command means different queries that will be executed, and when that query will be executed, it will affect the data adapters. While data adapters is in fact used to connect the the SQL command with this connection strings, and the connection string is our own connection string that has connected our SQL server with the catalogs of the university. While university catalog means the database of the university. Next one is data table new data tables. Here we have declared the object of the data table with the name of table dot local is equal to system globalized dot culture info dot invariant cultures. That means that these tables will be a globalized tables, and its culture info is the invariant. Invariant means that there is no certain variations by cultures in this particular table. So invariant cultures is certain culture intensive. Means that only English cultures will be used here. You can display only English sort of data for this database. Next one is data adapter dot fill tables. So when this function is called, the fill function, which is a built-in function, then the adapter is filled with this table. And the table is in fact here, this one table here. And that means that this adapters which takes these strings, and the strings are in fact provided with this adapter here, and the adapter is connecting the tables. Now binding source one dot data source is equal to table. So here we will bind the source one, that is the binding source one, for this current table, and the current table is the is where in fact will be that will be provided to the query here. So next is data grade 1, which is our own data grade 1, and data grade 1 represents the tabular informations, and this is a control that we have drag drop from the toolbox onto the form. That auto resize columns means that automatically it will resize its column according to the size of the table. Data grid view auto size column dot mode dot all cells. So all the cells will be displayed and the cells will be auto sized when even it depends on the tables. Next is the catch exception, SQL exception, message dot show exception. If there are any problems or exception that are occurring here, then that generalized SQL exception will be posted here. Now, when we click on the second button, then the particular record will be displayed and the roll number attribute will be taken from the text box. So for this purpose, data grid 1 dot data source is equal to binding source 1. That means that uh, first populate the data grid 1 with the database, then execute this query. When you will execute this query, for example, that is get data function is called, and inside of the get data function we have passed a SQL query that is select text from student table where roll number is equal to plus txt search dot text. So roll number will be concatenated with this query, and then when this query will be executed, it will affect here the data grid. Here the data grid will be affected here, and then the data grid will show only that particular record where the text box contains the roll number of the students. Similarly, when we click on the third button, then again the data grid 1 data source binding source once, that means that the binding the data grid will be bind with the data source, and that is the binding source 1. And get data function is called here. Inside of the get data function we have uh, executed the insert query of the SQL server, insert into student table, and then values. You will be aware of this as insert queries of your database course, in which this query will insert a new record inside of the student tables, and the records values will be taken from the text boxes. So here we have different text box: txt roll number, txt name, and similarly if we have marks text box, then that will be also displayed, and similarly txt city as well. So there are only three attributes, so I just updated the slides here. We have txt roll number dot text, txt name dot text. These are second text box, and this is txt address dot text, which will take these three values. It is exactly here that, for example, roll number, name, and marks, and then TOK is the city name, for example. This is just a sample query for you, and actually the values will be taken here from these three text boxes, and then insert query will be executed. And finally, we have the delete query here. So get data delete from students where roll number is equal to txt delete means that which roll number will be deleted here. So then that will be provided through another text box, that is the for text box here, which will provide you the roll number here. Now here I haven't implemented the update query. This is your assignments. You need to implement the update query here. But to implement the update queries, you must have to thoroughly uh, learn how I am now doing to I'm connecting the GUI of Visual C Sharp.net with the Visual Student. So Visual Studio and with the SQL Server. So just for this purpose, now I'm going to perform this example. So click on the escape buttons here. Start the Visual Studio. So here click on the Visual Studio. This is my Visual Studio 2019, which is the latest version. Click on the Visual Studio. Now you need to uh, create the database and then the GUI accordingly here, that has been created like this one in the slides. Now click on create the new project. Just click here. Meanwhile, Visual Studio will create a new project for you. So you need to take the Windows application first, and then we will design the database, and then we will create the table inside of the database, and then we will provide some information or store data inside of the table, and then we will design our full GUI, and at the end we will write programming steps, that is different programming statements for connecting the GUI with SQL Server. So here I click on the new projects. So now Visual Studio is going to create the new project for us. Change the language. Here you need to change the language. Here you need to select the C Sharp.net. This one is C Sharp.net, and then drag it down, and then click on the Windows Form Applications. Click next. when you will click next, you need to type the name of the project. For example, the name of project is, for example, here I'm going to create the product project, that is the product. I'm going to create the product project. I want to change the existing example that is already in the slides, so that you can get complete idea. So here I'm creating a new systems that will insert or create and search and delete the products. So product types, product project, click on create. So when you will click on the create, meanwhile Visual Studio will create the empty form for you, that is the visual applications here. Now Visual Studio has created this empty form for me. Now click on the toolbox, that is the tool, click on SQL Server or click on the new query here. So when you will click on the new query, the query dialogs will appear here. Dear students, you must have to follow all these steps. So when you click on this, then click or expand this local, select the SQL server. When you will select this, automatically the name will appear here. Click on the connect buttons. When you will click on the connect buttons, then SQL server will be connected with your visual applications here. Now SQL server is going to connect with our visual applications here, and when it will be connected, then the new query will be provided here. I think there's timeout again. Select this one and click here again. So now that window has disappeared, and you can see that if I click on here, I will see the previous students, temp DB, university, and similar model MSD, these databases here. So I want to create my own database, that is the new database. If I click on view before going towards the new data, click on view, click on SQL Server Object Explorers. Now this Object Explorers will appear here. So it will contains the old databases, but I want to create my new database. So I will create my database here through this command here. Now if you expand this SQL server, this one was the servers that here we have connected. So first one is the server here. Click here, click populate the database. Here you can see that university, students, KUST, Azure, etc. These are created. You want to create the database, just here click on add new database. But better is to create the database through the queries. Also you can create the database here as well. So you can create the database through this here that as well, but better is to create with the queries here. Now I will type the SQL statement, let create database, create database. This is not case sensitive, you can use the small alphabet as well. Here I want to write the database name, that is the product the DB, and type here. Now create database product DB database product database. Click here to execute this command. So click here. When you will click here, there you will see the results. Command as completed successfully. Now go to the SQL server, and because we haven't saved that particular commands here, so still you will not see that database here. So this is, there are still older databases but not our database here. Now if we click here, you will see now the product database now in this combo box. Now I will create the table inside of the product database. For this purpose, use the use keyword here, use product DB. Use product DB. Product DB is here. You can see the product DB. This is the product DB. You can also switch from the model DB to the product DB, and here write that the table that create. Here we now want to create the table, so we need to write the create query of the SQL server. So you need to write create table. Table is also a keyword. Then table name. Here just product is our table name product, and then you need to mention different sort of attributes that will be implemented inside of the product table. So first one is the product PID. PID. So PID is the product ID. Now PID is the product ID, and I want to uh, write the integer data type for the product ID. Then P name, that is product name, and product name will be N var char, and the size of the product name may be from it will be 20 characters. Then again P company. Company means that the products which has been developed by the particular company, and usually the company name is also in the var char. So N var char and N var char, and its size also will be of the 20. So here you can see that our query has been completed here. So click on this green button to execute the query. So click here. You can see that that query has been executed and it is successfully completed. There is no certain errors or mistake here in that. Now delete this previous query. Now we need to insert the data inside of this table. First, I want to display these tables. Select static. I know that the table will be empty, but still I want to display the table. So our table name is product. To select statics from products, click here. You can see that only PID, P name, P company name are provided here. Now I want to insert certain values inside of this table here. Now after saving all this process, now if I click on SQL Server Object Explorer, you can see your new created database as product DB, and there is only one table, maybe one table's errors. Now you can see the table's errors. So but the table is actually empty here. So table will also be displayed here. That is the table is products dbo.product. That is our product table. Now I will insert certain values here inside of this table. So for this purpose, write the insert query insert uh, into particular tables. So insert into product table, that is product table. This is the product table. You can click here, and values means that different values that we are going to insert here. Now you can see first one is the integer 1 comma, second one is the string. So product name, for example, product name is laptop. Laptop is the name of the product, and company, for example, company name is, for example, company is Lenovo. Lenovo. This is the product name and its company name. Similarly, if you want to insert the second uh, products here, so just copy it here and change the product ID here to second one. For example, products, here is the mobile product, and it is a Sony from Sony company here. Similarly, insert here the third products is, for example, our watch. We have a wrist watch, and the company name may be maybe for example citizen watch, for example citizen watch. Here it's citizen watch. Now we want to insert three different records here. Click here. When you will click here, you will see that 121. Its value is 1 here. Here, the value of this second value is 1 here. Now, also I want to insert the third one. For example, this is the third 3, and laptop is, for example, that is Sony laptop, and click on this. You can see that there are laptops, mobiles, watch, and laptops and Sony. But one problem is here that you can see that the key of the product ID of laptop and watch are the same, that is 1 and 1. This is can be controlled through the primary key. But the first I will delete the anyone here, either laptop, Lenovo, or watch Citizen. So for this purpose I will use the delete query here. So I will write delete from table, that is the product table, delete from product table, where what sort of record I want to delete here, where P company is equal to, or P company, product company, product company is equal to, I want to delete the watch here. So I will write where P company is equal to watch. So when this query will be executed, you will see that it will delete this attributes from this database or from this table. So I will execute this. Now you can see that select text 121, delete from products where P company is equal to watch here. So I should write in fact the product name, not product company. That is, product name is watch here. So product name is watch. Only one certain attributes which has the watch here. So when I will click this, you can see that that attribute has been deleted, and there is only three certain records: 1, 2, 3 laptop Lenovo, 2 mobile Sony, and third laptop Sony here. Now this was our database that we have created here. Now go to the SQL servers, right click here. If you want to insert the primary key on that particular attributes that you want, so click on SQL server object explorer, right click on that particular tables, and then view the designer. When you will click on the design mode, this table will be viewed here. Select that particular attributes, this one I want to insert, right, and click on set primary key. When you will click on set primary key, you will see that now that is the primary key, and select save all. Click on save all, and again here save here. You will see that now the table has been saved here, and this is the table that we have created. Now next we have to design the database, which is the third step here. So for this purpose, first we need the data grid controls here. So go to the data sections here and drag drop this data grid onto your form here. So I have just drag drop that database data grid onto my form. Next I will also drag drop one buttons controls here. The button control is there in the common controls here. So this is my first buttons. Also I need to drag drop another buttons. This one is second button. Also, I need to drag drop a text box. This is the text box. Now this is the button which will display all the records. So show all, show all. Here search by product ID. So search by product ID. It's PID. And next is the insert query. So you can also copy this and paste it here. And this next one is the insert. So next is insert product. Insert product. For inserting products, we require three different text boxes as well. So this is the first text box. This is the second text box, and this one is the third text box here. The third text box here. So we will insert the particular values here. Right. Okay. So what we are going to insert first, we want to go to insert the particulars attributes here. So for this purpose, just drag drop a label here. First is the product ID that we will insert PID. For example, PID. Okay. Then copy this label, paste it again so that you will get another instance. Next is the P name, product name of the product. For example, you can also write full product name, and the third will be the product company. Third will be the product company. So now associate all these text boxes with their labels. This is the first, this is second, this one is third. Okay, and also I will write another query here, that is delete query. So for this purpose I need the another button here, delete by ID PID. The exact PID that has been provided here will be deleted here. Control C, Control V. This is the that particular. Now GUI has been completed, but next I need to populate this data grids here. So for this purpose, click here and click on the none here. So you can not see any sort of the data connection here. So you will click on that particular connections here. But first you need to go to the Server Explorer and rename it and just copy it, and then click on this data grids, click on none, click on add new data source, click on next, again click on next, click on create next, because this is the previous database we have created, but click on create new, paste the server name here. When you will paste here, then click here, then you will see all the databases that will that are in fact can be accessed through this SQL server. So they will be displayed here. Click on product DB. You can click on test connection. You can see that test connection is succeeded. That means that our work is okay. Next, click on OK. When you will click on OK, now you will see product DB instead of university DB. Next, click on next. Click on next again. Here you will see the tables in the database. So you can check all so that all the records will be displayed here. Click on finish. When you will click on finish, immediately you will see the particulars records attributes in this data grids here, and also you will see the different classes. For example, product DB dataset, product binding source, and product table adapters will be created here. Now double click on the show all. If you double click on the show all, then you will see that all the data will be in fact shown here. Or if you just run these projects now, just click here, you will be able to run the projects here. So compile the project and run the applications. Now you can see that the record has been displayed here, but these buttons are not working because we haven't performed any sort of code for these buttons. So just close your project. Okay, next we will transfer the code from the slides onto this uh, project. So for this purpose, first we need to write this SQL statements here. So copy it here and go to the top of your project. If that is already there, then it's okay. If not, then you have to write that statements here on the library sections of the project. Okay. Next, you need to transfer these two lines code also, just and you need to write it just after the class name. So here, this is the class name. Just put that code here. Now also, when you will click on the first buttons, then that particular code will be executed. But before, you also need to click on that button to execute the code here. So already we have to write the show all. So I'll change this tables here. That is the in fact product table, just product. That is just product here. Also, you need to write this functions. So this function is already available here. So just copy it here and just paste it about this event here. Now you need to change the database here. This is the university database, but we have the product DB, and the table is the table is which is the in fact the tables which we will provide here in this here. Now run the application to see how it's working. Now this is in fact the data which has been displayed due to the form load event here. This is the form load event and it displays the diff. But when I click on show all, similarly that is again show in fact displayed here, and you can see that the table is little bit shifted towards the left side because of this command here. That is the auto resize columns here. Okay, now we have successfully executed first query. Now we want to write the second queries. So just copy this from here and paste it here. Now the second query was to search query. So select text from product where PID, it should be exactly as like in the tables that here you see that the PI is capital D small. So there should be no mistakes in the coding, and the name of the attribute should be same as like the name of the attributes in the table. So where product ID is equal to first text box. This first text box. So text box one dot text. So it will display all the data, and data will be taken from the first text box, and where the product ID is this. Now it shows the all data, but I want to show only product number 3. So here I will type only the attribute of the products here. So I just type 3, click on search by ID. You can see that only the third, that is the product ID with the value of 3 has been displayed here only. If you click on show all, again all will be showed here. And if you want to search the product number 2, then this product will be displayed here. Now also I will write the code for insert products, that is new product will be inserted. For this purpose, close the output, go to the form design mode, double click this button. So when you will double click this button, you will provided with the event. Now this is the event that Visual Studio has created. Now this is the insert query. So I will write here the insert into table name product, and then values, and here I will type then values and then this brackets. So this brackets will contains all the values here. Now the values will be taken from the second, third, fourth text box. So and the first one is the integer, second and third are the strings here. So here I will write the values will be taken from the second text box, plus then comma that is the comma inside of the SQL statement, then plus, and then here the first one, that is then the text box, third the text third text box, plus, okay. So and then again the semicolon end, and then comma starts, then again plus, then again here another semicolon starts, then text box for our text, okay. And here this is the start of, then plus, then continuation, then string close, and then here single quote finished. So these two are the strings, and the first one is the integer. So that's why we have not associated or started with the any single quote here. That is the it is because integer, and these two are the strings. Now our code has been complete for the inserts here. So just uh, execute this statement. Also, you require this ending braces, because this is start and this is the end of this brace. Now execute the program here. This shows all the values in the tables. Now I want to insert a new record here. Next one is the fourth, for example, and next is the product type is car, and the company is Suzuki. Example, click on insert button. When you click on insert button, the record has been inserted. Now click on show all button. Now you can see that the fourth record also has been inserted for car Suzuki. Next, we will implement the delete by ID. So for this purpose, double click on these buttons. When you will double click on buttons here, now you need to write this code here. So data grid one dot data source binding source one, and get data delete from products where product ID is equal to fifth text box. Now the code has been implemented here. First, I have shown all records here. Now I want to delete record number 4 or record number 3. So here I will write the product ID. I want to delete record number 3. Click on delete button and then click on show all. Now you can see that record number 3 has successfully been deleted. So this was the database connectivity completely, and here you can see that all of the queries has been executed except one query which I have left for you as a assignments here. And you need to develop a full systems, and you also need to update to implement the update query in this example. You have to search the update query in the database systems and how it's working. Then you have to submit the code with the output as well, and that you should submit it in the hard copy. Okay, this is the end of the lectures. It was a very lengthy lectures, but still it is very productive and informative lectures. This is the book that you should read for these topics. That is the Visual C Sharp and Databases 2019 editions, and it is written by Philip Conward and Leo Toyle. So this is a very interesting book. And still, if you have any question, you can ask the question through the email. My email is m.kadim@kust.edu.pk. I will wait for your question and will respond immediately as soon as I get them. Thank you very much.